This is the Stingray Show, and coming up on this edition, we are going to be doing a preview of what is known as the Magnolia Bowl over in the state of Mississippi between arch rivals LSU and Ole Miss. This is a pretty nasty rivalry that dates back multiple decades. And we're going to be joined by Ole Miss insider David Johnson and a former LSU tight end, Logan Stokes, who had a big career touchdown catch in that game to upset the Ole Miss Rebels back in 2014. We're going to preview this game from both sides on this edition of the Stingray Show, as this is the Magnolia Bowl preview show.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Those of you on Tide 100.9, look out, you're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
And with that, we want to welcome you inside another edition of the Stingray Show. We are discussing the Magnolia Bowl between Ole Miss and LSU. It is, like I said off the top of the show, a very nasty rivalry between the two fan bases and between the two schools. We are going to begin this evening talking about this game from the Rebels of Ole Miss's side with Ole Miss content creator and Ole Miss insider, Mr. David Johnson. David, how are things with you in Oxford, Mississippi, as you guys await the Magnolia Bowl and the rivalry with LSU?
Yeah, traffic is congested already. I'm going to send my wife to the grocery store tomorrow, and that's going to be it for her venturing out until around noon Sunday.
Yes.
Oxford is not built for a game of this size and magnitude. There won't be an empty seat in the house Saturday afternoon. It's just like a carnival around here. Everybody's excited. You've got two nationally ranked football teams. And as you and I were talking off the air, I just don't know if there's enough empirical evidence in yet to say, hey, these two or three teams have separated themselves from the rest of the SEC. And this is a game that's going to help kind of determine that pecking order moving ahead.
All right, David, if you would talk a little bit about the history of the LSU and Ole Miss rivalry that is known as the Magnolia Bowl.
Yeah, and look, I really don't know anybody in Oxford that calls it the Magnolia Bowl.
Okay.
I know they've been calling it that for, a couple of decades now, but it's just LSU.
Yes.
And, they play for, I don't want to upset anybody, but the ugliest rivalry trophy in all of sports. A win over LSU is a win over LSU, and I'm sure they feel the same. But Ole Miss fans do not like LSU fans.
Right.
And LSU fans do not like Ole Miss fans. And it goes back to, even probably before Billy Cannon's Halloween touchdown run, and Burt Jones and his magic turn back the clock 3 seconds or 7 seconds or whatever that was. I think back in the year I was born, 1971 or somewhere around there. I tell you what, the first Ole Miss football game I ever went to, they were playing LSU. And I was just a little kid. And I went with my uncle. And I remember being there in all my red and blue and everything. And this game was in Jackson at Veterans Memorial Stadium. Anytime Ole Miss played LSU back then, they'd always have that game in Jackson. And there were a couple of 80-year-old LSU women fans behind us. And every time Ole Miss would do something, we'd cheer. And every time LSU would do something, they would literally hit us in the head with these purple and gold pom-poms on wooden sticks. And, you know, it was that was my first taste of the Ole Miss LSU rivalry, and LSU ended up skunking us, so we got a couple of bumps on our head that night.
Yes.
But
So go ahead. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. I could talk about those old women all night long.
So, if you would, let's go to the Arkansas game. That, of course, was a conference game for Ole Miss, and Ole Miss had issues stopping Arkansas with Pete Golding's defense. Recap that game for us, please. The Arkansas game versus Ole Miss.
Yeah, Taylon Green. I mean that's why Ole Miss had issues to a large degree, and he's going to create those kind of issues for everybody Arkansas plays this year. I mean, if they could not fumble the football
Yes.
inside a minute left to go in a game, they may have won their last two.
Mhm.
But instead, they've lost to Ole Miss, they've lost to Memphis, and that's why I really think the verdict is still out on a lot of teams. LSU, yeah, they dominated Southeastern Louisiana. I mean, no surprises there. Ole Miss is 2-0 in the SEC,
Yeah.
but they've beaten a terrible Kentucky team and an Arkansas team that's proven very good at shooting itself in the foot right at the last moment. So,
Yes.
that's so I don't think you can hang a lot on those two victories. I do think Ole Miss is coming off their most impressive win of the year over Tulane last weekend. But I got to be honest with you. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, I look at Georgia. They beat Austin Peay 28-0. I mean, that doesn't instill a lot of confidence. Texas has already lost one to Ohio State, and Arch Manning has struggled. Right now, probably the best-looking team in the SEC to me is Texas A&M.
Yes. That's correct.
David, I've been impressed with this Ole Miss offense. I was looking at quarterback ratings for all the quarterbacks in the SEC, and I was so shocked. And I can't believe if it was yards pass or completion percentage or one or the other. But the top two were Ole Miss quarterbacks, and I started laughing. I was like, Lane Kiffin knows how to use his quarterbacks. Touch briefly on that whole situation. I mean, are we going to see Austin Simmons ever start again at Ole Miss? This guy was so talented. You talked about him on this show. You bragged about him. I bought into the hype. I believe in him. Yeah, did he start a little slow? Yes. But I just can't believe it's already over if it is.
Yeah, word is Lane's got his eyes on this D3 quarterback next year. So who knows what the situation will look like then. But Trinidad Chambliss, look, I covered Division II football for about 15 years, Delta State over in Cleveland, Mississippi. And I watched Delta State win a national championship with a quarterback, Danny Ford, rejected. He was going to Arkansas. Actually, Ford was bringing him into Arkansas. Ford got fired, and Josh Bright ended up going to Delta State and winning a national championship. Trinidad Chambliss is kind of out of that same ilk. Josh ran the midline option. Chambliss is a better passer and a better runner, if I'm being honest. But, I think Trinidad is going to start Saturday versus LSU. I do, however, think Austin Simmons will be ready. I think he'll be the long relief pitcher, so to speak, if things aren't going well with Trinidad. So, it's a great spot to be in, obviously, in terms of, you got QB1A, whether that's Chambliss or Simmons, and you got QB1B, whether that's Chambliss or Simmons. And both of those guys can play. And even A.J. Maddox, our heralded freshman quarterback, got in the game last week against Tulane. So, but you asked about Lane Kiffin. Quarterback whisperer, yeah, no doubt. I mean, he and Charlie Weiss are getting everything they can possibly get out of those guys. And, can you get it against superior competition like you're going to face Saturday afternoon with LSU, the same way you've been getting it against the likes of Tulane and Arkansas? That's the question to me. And I will say this. I have watched Ole Miss on the offensive side of the football improve each and every week, particularly the offensive line. They're starting to gel, starting to get some good things happening up front there. And, man, they're going to need it this weekend against LSU.
David, real quick on the quarterback situation. Are we going to see, you talked about Kiffin being the quarterback whisperer. Quarterback whisperer in the 90s was this guy named Steve Spurrier, and he rotated his quarterbacks like crazy. Any chance we see something like that where we're putting in a different quarterback each play and they're just rotating back and forth?
I don't think so. I go back to Arkansas, Ole Miss at Arkansas, and it's been several years ago. Matt Corral's out there, and he had been battling for the job. And Matt goes out there, and I think this was a game where he threw 5 interceptions. And Lane stuck with him the entire time. Had John Rice Plumlee on the bench, never went with John Rice, even though Matt was having the worst game of his career. Lane stuck with Matt Corral. I don't think you're going to see him yo-yoing guys in and out via series or anything like that. I do think he goes with the hot hand. I think that's Trinidad Chambliss right now, obviously. And I think if he makes a change, he's making a change. But I do think Austin Simmons is going to be ready for a relief role if needed. If he's not needed, we'll never know if he was ready or not. That's just Lane. We won't know.
All right, so we are up against our first break of the evening, and when we come back, we are going to dive into the matchup this weekend there in Oxford between the LSU Tigers and the Ole Miss Rebels. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back. Welcome back inside the Stingray Show. We are previewing Ole Miss and LSU. We started with Ole Miss with David Johnson. He is joining us, who is an Ole Miss insider. And David, when you look at this Ole Miss offense, where do you feel like that they could take advantage of the LSU defense?
Yeah, Stephen, I don't think it matters who's at quarterback in terms of Ole Miss can take advantage with their wide receivers. They've got a group of wide receivers this year that rival the group they had last year. Right. When you're talking about Harrison Wallace, the transfer from Penn State, Deshaun Stribling, the transfer from Oklahoma State, you've got Caden Lee coming back after a great year last year with Ole Miss. And then you've got some tight ends that can catch the football. Right. Daquan Wright, the transfer from Virginia Tech. I think Ole Miss is a grade A in terms of talent and depth at wide receiver and tight end, particularly when they get Luke Haas back, the transfer from Arkansas, who's been out with injury. So, but in addition to those guys, Ole Miss has something this year they couldn't find last year, and that is a ground game. Yeah. And that is led by Missouri transfer Kewan Lacey. He was really close to choosing Ole Miss out of high school, decided to give Eli Drinkwitz in Missouri a shot, went up there for a year. And from what I can hear, everybody at Missouri was like, hey, this kid was going to play for us this year, but he didn't like it in Como, and he's in Oxford, and he's been running crazy. And a former LSU guy, Logan Diggs, transferred, sat out last year while recovering from an ACL injury. He's coming back running with some authority as well, too. I already mentioned the offensive line. They're doing a much better job really protecting the quarterbacks and opening up some running games. So this is an offense that sans Jackson Dart might be a little better than what they put on the field last year.
Right.
If you can, go that far. And I think you can.
David, one thing I've noticed about this Ole Miss defense is, and this is not a backhanded comment, they're good when they need to be. And that's exactly what you want out of your defense is that you need them to step up. Perfect example, the Arkansas game here a couple of weekends ago. They weren't looking too good. They weren't looking too polished, but they got the stop when they needed it. We've seen them do this time and time and time again under Kiffin. Is it a mindset? Is it what's going on? Or is it pure luck? I don't know what it is, but I know it's consistent and it's leading to wins. They're not good all the time, but they're good when they need to be, and that's the most important.
Well, you ask if it's a mindset under Lane Kiffin, but I'd proffer you that it's a mindset under defensive coordinator Pete Golding.
Okay.
And I've known Pete for, almost 30 years. I covered Pete when he was playing safety as a little short guy over at Delta State. And let me tell you something. Pete was gritty, grimy, and got the job done back then. All 5'8" of him, or ever how tall he is, playing safety in the Gulf South Conference, which back then was known as the Little SEC. So, Pete's always had that fight about him. And, I think the defense really takes on his character. And, I got to roll that credit out to him. Lane, as a head coach, is more of an offensive-minded guy. Not that he doesn't coach defense or not that he doesn't want the defense to do well. But the offense is Lane's, the defense is somebody else's. And for the last several seasons, it's been Pete Golding's. So I'd give that credit to Pete. They kind of take off his personality and his demeanor a little bit there.
We all know that Lane is just wonderful with offense. I mean, that's not a secret to anybody. But he is Monty Kiffin's son. He's got to know something about defense. He had to grow up in that household listening about defense all the time. With that being said, what's the one thing you like most about this defense this season? We're only a couple of games in, but what do you like about this Rebel defense this season so far?
Yeah, I like how a couple of the young guys up front have been playing. A guy from your neck of the woods, Cam Franklin, who played at Lake Cormorant High School. Cam is having an exceptional season. And then a guy from Houston, Mississippi, Will Eccles. Both of those guys have been playing with a little dominance and a little force up front. So I like what I'm seeing from them. I like how Suntarian Perkins is playing. And honestly, I like how the entire secondary is improving each week by week. So I think there are a lot of things to like about this defense. Last year's defense, 7 guys now on NFL rosters. They led the SEC in sacks. Not an easy job for anybody to try to rebuild. Pete has done an admirable job in that, I think. Again, working through the transfer portal. And then, Eccles and Franklin, both high school recruits. Ole Miss identified early, recruited them hard, got them to Oxford, and they're both having great years at this point.
All right. So when you look at this matchup, where are you most concerned about Ole Miss that LSU could take advantage of them?
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's one guy, Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, he could be the best quarterback in the country. Again, I don't think we know yet, but he could be. He could be a first-round draft pick. And if he goes off, even though the Ole Miss secondary, I think, is getting better each and every week, I don't know that there's much they can do about that.
Right.
That and that's my main area of concern. That and whether or not Lane's got anything dialed up in particular for LSU linebacker Whit Weeks.
Yes.
We'll see. He says he doesn't. Great family, great. Whit and Landry are together, but we'll see. They're going to play football Saturday afternoon. Y'all come on over and watch a game. It'll be fun.
Oh, yes.
I'm actually going to be in the Grove. My niece is turning 21, and my sister thought it would be the best idea to have her birthday in the Grove. And I was like, that's the worst idea I've ever heard, because that game is going to be so packed out. And I don't want to take a $45 Uber ride from, for 2 miles out to go to my niece's birthday party.
You hide her from Whit Weeks.
Oh, David, looking at this game, we get this great rivalry with Ole Miss and LSU. It has a horrible trophy, but it's a great rivalry. I'm still upset that this game is not on Halloween weekend. I think this game should always be on Halloween weekend. I think the craziest games happen on Halloween when these two teams meet up. But we got the word out yesterday with all the SEC teams and their set 3 teams. And I heard 16 crybabies from 16 SEC fan bases saying they all got screwed. What is your thought on the 3 set opponents for Ole Miss moving forward?
Well, there's been a little of that at Ole Miss. Obviously not about playing Mississippi State. You knew that was going to happen. And obviously not about playing this game, LSU, because I don't know if LSU fans feel as adamant about this as Ole Miss fans, but there are Ole Miss fans to this day that'll tell you LSU is our rival, not right. Mississippi State. And there's a little bit of truth to that, I think, but not much, not in my lifetime anyway. But the third team, Oklahoma, Lane even came out at his press conference today and was like, we don't have anything in common with them. Our fans don't have anything culturally in common with Oklahoma. Why is it Oklahoma? Well, I'd proffer this question. Who else would it be? Who else would you want it to be?
Arkansas?
Oklahoma, Arkansas, but I'm going to be honest with you. Norman and Fayetteville are a hell of a lot closer together than Fayetteville and Oxford are. Right. So I don't know. But yeah, Ole Miss has played Arkansas even before the Hogs left the Southwest Conference and joined the big boys long before then. So there is a little history there. I could get that. But you knew everybody wasn't going to be happy with everybody they're playing.
Right.
I don't mind Oklahoma simply because my wife's family, they all live in Tulsa. So it gives me an excuse every other year to go out there and I can hang out with them, leave my wife there with her mom and dad and drive on to Norman for the game. And we both have good weekends. So, I don't mind it. And I don't know who else it would have been. Ole Miss fans would have been screaming had it been Alabama or upset that if it had been Georgia. So, I'm okay with it. I really am. LSU, Mississippi State, every single year, like it should be. And then you play everybody. What every 2 years? You're going to play somebody you haven't been playing. Right. I think that I like this schedule. What I don't like about it is the fact you got to play an extra SEC game. I know the money people love it. It's going to be big TV money. It's big attendance money. It's not Ole Miss playing the Citadel in November anymore like they do this year. But, I'm okay with it. I really don't have an issue with it.
Real quick, staying on that same topic, we're losing LSU, Florida. We're losing Florida, Tennessee. We're losing Ole Miss, Arkansas. We're losing so many great games in the SEC, and I really hate – because I love watching Ole Miss and Arkansas. Those games have been classic over the years and just ripped the heart out of each other's chest multiple times. Both schools have. And of course, Tennessee, Florida. I know that game has kind of not been what it used to be back in the 90s, but we still watched it. Your thought on maybe the SEC as a whole going to this? Do you think we're missing out? Because now we're getting Ole Miss and Oklahoma, and it doesn't seem like either side's happy about it. And I think everybody in the SEC would rather see Ole Miss and Arkansas. Your thoughts on us losing these rivalries as a whole?
Yeah, I don't know. I think television in a lot of ways, and I love how TV is set up now. Look, if I'm home on a Saturday, I can watch any game in the country my heart desires.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that back in 1986.
Right.
It was what, Ole Miss played on TV twice, maybe 3 times a year if Jefferson Pilot picked them up. Now I can watch anybody anytime. But what I don't like, and this is where I think we're headed, guys, not that you asked this, but to answer this fully, I'll explain this. I think we're headed towards a 16-team playoff or more, where I think the SEC and the Big Ten are going to be guaranteed 4 playoff spots for each single league. And that is what they're going to get out of playing that extra conference game. And, that way, top 4 teams are going, period. And I think that's what we're moving towards. Y'all may disagree, but that's what I think.
David, we're not going to go down the road of Mike Leach wanting 64 teams and go down to your local Parks and Rec office, the guy that does the girls softball tournaments every weekend, to do this. We're not going down that road, but I think this thing's going to expand to more than 16 in my lifetime. I'm turning 50 this year. I just see this. There's too much money to be made. And who wants less football? I'm still on this from our good friend, Mr. College Football. He's like, what are we going to do? Watch reruns of Matlock and Law and Order? No, we want college football. With this, where do you think we top out here in the next 10 years with this college football playoff?
Yeah, I really think, and Division II used to do it this way, 24 teams got in.
Yes.
Okay, and the top 8 teams all got first-round buys.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have 16 teams playing in the first round, and then the 8 survivors would play the 8 that survived, and you'd work it down like that. I really think 24 would be a good number if they did it like that. And I'm like you, who's watched too much football? I catch myself going down the rabbit hole on YouTube all the time, and inevitably I end up with some 1983 Jefferson Pilot SEC Game of the Week. And I'm like, I forgot about that. I mean, and that's in the middle of July I'm doing that, guys. Right. I mean, it's just, I don't think you can watch too much football. Thus, that's why now you have the USFL, all these other leagues that are playing the traditional off season. I mean, there's football year round now.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. As it should be.
Mm-hmm. David, I'll tell you a little hack that I accidentally created this past year for myself. There were so many bowl games I wanted to watch, but I was so busy during Christmas time and the New Year time, and I recorded them and I forgot about them until like midway through the summer, and I found them. I enjoyed July more. I'd hardly had any spare time in July, but I enjoyed random bowl games in July because I already forgot who won or lost, and I didn't look it up on my phone. I was like, I'm just going to watch this and see who wins. Had a blast. Yeah. Feel free to steal that one for yourself.
Yeah, I'll try that as well. But I don't know, guys. I just think you're going to be in for a great football game Saturday in Oxford. And, there's going to be a real good one in Athens, right? Alabama's at Georgia.
Yep.
And, I think there's going to be a good one down in Starkville, Tennessee at Mississippi State. So there's one I'm forgetting. What's the other one? There's another.
Auburn and A&M.
Auburn and A&M. There you go.
Yep.
You also got Notre Dame and Arkansas.
Oh, yeah. I'll actually pull for the Hogs this weekend. See if Notre Dame can stay in the top 25 with that third loss.
And I'm sure you're going to drive home fast to find out who won between Utah State and Vanderbilt, too. So
Go Vandy.
Yeah.
I'm a door. If I had my pimp stick, I'd shake it right now.
So how do you see the game in Oxford playing out, as right now LSU is a 1.5 point favorite? Who wins? Ole Miss, LSU, Saturday afternoon in Oxford.
Yeah, nobody take this as gambling advice, okay? I want to throw that out there. And again, Stephen and I were talking off the air, Heath, and we were talking about, has any SEC team or group of teams started separating themselves from the pack? I don't think they have. No. and that includes both these teams we're going to watch play Saturday afternoon, LSU and Ole Miss. LSU looked like they had a great win over Clemson. That's turned out to really be a mediocre win.
Yeah.
I do think Ole Miss is the best team that they will have played thus far. I also think LSU is the best team Ole Miss will have played. Mm-hmm. It's in Oxford, which is becoming each and every year a more difficult place for teams to visit. And I think Pandemonium's going to be holding high carnival Saturday in Oxford. It'll start about lunchtime tomorrow when all these Cajuns start pulling into town, and then all these rebels start pulling into town. And Friday night, it'll be so thick you can't cut it with a knife.
Right.
And it'll go on all the way through Saturday night. It won't stop for breakfast. I mean, it's going to jump straight from Friday night into pre-gaming. So I think it's going to be a classic Ole Miss LSU showdown that we've become accustomed to in recent years. And I got if I were going to put money on it, I'd put it on the home team. Yeah. I think the red and blue win this game. And I think there's a reason Ole Miss opened as a 1.5 point favorite over LSU. Stephen just said that trend has changed by now. So the LSU is favored, but I think Ole Miss is going to win by the skin of their teeth, and Cajun fans are not going to be happy with Brian Kelly once again.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. I don't think they're happy with him now anyway, but
I think that's all because of that fake Southern accent, though.
That's right. That's right. David, I want to encourage you. I told Stephen this on the show on Monday, but I want to encourage you and all of our listeners, go pull up the SEC standings and just pick you two of the undefeated teams that you think could be in Atlanta. And you're going to have a hard time. If you start looking at the one-loss teams, you kind of feel a little bit more comfortable who might be in Atlanta. Feel free to do that exercise by yourself. It doesn't matter who we all pick because, one, it's probably not going to come true, and two,
Vandy and Kentucky, right?
Yes.
That's right.
So look, David, this has been an absolute blast. We always thoroughly enjoy you joining us. Good luck to Ole Miss this weekend. I will leave you with this. Hotty toddy, and go enjoy it, my friend.
Hotty toddy. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, Heath. Appreciate you guys.
Hey, let's get this game moved to Halloween weekend.
No, CBS will run the Billy Cannon stuff over and over again. I'm so glad I don't have to watch that now.
Yes. All right.
Don't forget about the overtime victory Ole Miss had over LSU sometime in the late 90s. I want to say maybe 98-ish.
It was 98. No, wait. Yes. The day that happened, I was in Magnolia, Arkansas, covering Delta State and Southern Arkansas, and that game had just ended, and I remember having it on a radio, listening to the very end of it. And wow. I think it was Corey Peterson that caught the touchdown in overtime to beat them.
From Germantown High School.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you for having me.
All right.
David, thank you, sir. Always a pleasure.
Okay. So, Heath, that is going to wrap up the very exciting interview there with David Johnson. Really do want to thank him. He is nothing but a class act and always entertaining when we have him on. Now, when we come back on the other side of this break, we are going to be joined by a former LSU tight end who had a huge catch in this game back in 2014 to seal the win for the LSU Tigers. Tight end Logan Stokes joins us on the other side of this break to talk about this matchup from the LSU side. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back.